Hey friends, Diane here. Surrender, submit, and obey. This is how the Christian life becomes abundantly overflowing with all that is good. Sadly, I think this current culture views these words and actions in a negative way. They might think only a powerless person would ever place themselves under the control of anyone else. They may feel like only a weak person lets others influence their thoughts, emotions, and desires. Or they possibly might want to continue to try and be in control of their lives, so they ridicule anyone who chooses otherwise. Yet if we really stop and pay attention to this earthly life, this is exactly what every human being has been doing since Adam and Eve and will continue to do until Jesus comes back. We surrender, submit, and obey those three enemies all the time. But are we even aware of it? Surrendering to God does not mean we have no power, but quite the opposite. Like Jesus, we are freely and willingly choosing to place ourselves under the love and grace of God. That sounds like wisdom to me. Submitting to God does not mean we are weak, but are showing a Herculean amount of self-restraint. Like Jesus, we are freely and willingly choosing to control the only person we can control, ourselves. Obedience to God does not mean you do not have any choice, but rather we are trusting God with our choices. Like Jesus, we are freely and willingly choosing God's will over our own selfish, self-centered, and self-absorbed will. I hope you took note of how many times I said, like Jesus, we are freely and willingly choosing, because this is the way he lived his life on earth. And as imitators of Christ, it is what we are supposed to do with our free will too. Me, myself, and I believe this is the strongest of those three enemies, because everywhere we go, there we are. We have to fight against that old nature, that old sinfulness, that old I am the God of my own life Jezebel person we used to be. That is why the struggle becomes so intense. It is that false idea that we even can be the Lord of our lives. We're children. We only have limited knowledge, limited resources, limited time. How can we possibly be a good and gracious Lord to ourselves, much less anyone else? We cannot. Thus, if we really want the abundant life God desires for us, and Jesus died to give us, then we must surrender, submit, and obey the Holy Spirit. And even for this, it takes his real strength working in us. More tomorrow. See you then.